Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira coming to you live with another person we are showcasing today. Munira's Musing is a show where we showcase a different entrepreneur who has found their niche and is helping others with that niche and helping others to go forward in life with the niche they've found. Our guest today is Christian Lefer, right? Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Right. And he is here bright and early. He talks about nonprofits and why these are important. So before we go into the show, I would like to welcome everybody that's here. And if you are interested on being on our show, please go ahead and send me a message. I will look at what your niche is and then we'll go forward with that. And if you'd like to share and subscribe to our channel, we'd love you for that.
Munira Zahabi, the Niche Navigator, is a niche strategist. She is an international author, speaker, and influencer. She is an entrepreneur from Chicago, Illinois. Through her business, she has influenced many people to navigate their niche. She passionately believes that all people have a niche, but are afraid to explore the deep, dark waters within themselves and take a voyage through the raging waters within to find it. Munira's mission is to integrate the concept of nichology, businessology, and confidenceology. Let's welcome to the platform, Munira Zahabi.
But so without further ado, let's talk to Christian. Hi, Christian. How are you?
Good morning, Munira. How are you?
I'm good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm in Denver, Colorado, where it's beautiful most of the time. And I love to help people and stumbled my way. And we always think it's by accident, but I start to wonder, stumbled my way into helping people achieve their dreams and change the world by starting a nonprofit.
Okay. So why do you say help people? Why do nonprofits help people? How and why?
So there are a short list of types of activities, 7 types, but of course these can turn into many, many, many things. And internationally, right, nonprofits are called NGOs, non-governmental organizations. I like that a little better. I even like for-purpose organizations even better than that. So I call these for-purpose, but nobody would know what I was talking about until everyone is using that term. So nonprofits are here to provide a societal benefit of some kind, prevention of cruelty to animals, community togetherness, and don't we need that today? Education, science, religion, faith, spirituality, all of these things are captured under this umbrella of nonprofits because they provide a societal benefit. And so by nonprofit, we don't mean that they can't make any money, can't take any money in, and even it doesn't mean that they can't have excess money beyond what they take in. They can. That's usually called profit in the business world, right? But a nonprofit simply means it's a tax-exempt organization. It is not taxed at the corporate level. And there are other benefits to having a nonprofit we can talk about. And that is why those are the reasons, those are the purposes that people use the nonprofit business entity as the vehicle to bring change to the world.
So you said you stumbled into it. Like you said, first of all, you said you like to help people. So how do you help people?
Well, with this particular venture, starting a nonprofit is inherently much more complicated than starting a regular for-profit business venture. With a for-profit, you can go online. There are any number of services that for a relative pretty modest cost, you can start an LLC, you can start a small corporation. and move forward from there. And of course, there are some regulations, et cetera, but it's fairly straightforward. With a nonprofit, there are 26 discrete steps. You have to have special language in your articles of incorporation. Getting the EIN, the tax ID number is a little bit different. And then there is the IRS tax exempt status application that is a kind of world unto its own. And so I believe that people should not be stopped from making the world a better place by some bureaucratic barriers, complex forms, et cetera. So we have a done for you process. People sign up with us. We get the information we need, and you can go out and serve your purpose and focus on your mission. That is our mission as a company, to help you focus on your mission. We take all that paperwork, boom, it's a done for you process, and we deliver that charity status, that nonprofit tax exempt status to you. But then there's the whole, that's how we help people in the most practical way. And then there's the whole, hero's journey, the more cosmic, the more spiritual element of why people do what they do, why we feel compelled to help other people, and what we're going to do together. What are we going to do together in this crazy world we're living in, where everything's changing, to bring ourselves together when algorithms and government policies and all of these different things are working to tear us apart? How can we come together and help each other and stay connected?
I love that, right? But you said you stumbled into this. So what were you doing before, and how did you stumble into this?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back, right? When I was 8 years old, I grew up in North Jersey, New Jersey, and playing out in the woods with my friends, and by my house. And my mom called me inside. She had just taken my little sister to the doctor, and she sat me down. My mom looked very serious, and my sister was almost 4, and she wasn't speaking yet. And so they took her to the doctor, and my mom told me what they said, that Monique, my sister, looked like all the other kids, and nothing seemed to be physically wrong, but she would never develop like the other kids. She was developmentally disabled, what we called back in 1973 mentally retarded. And my sister is the greatest human. She teaches me how to be a better human all the time, still to this day. But she indeed did not develop like the other kids. And so I grew up around things like Special Olympics and all these wonderful organizations where people take their own time to go help people like my sister. And I love my sister because, a great example, Monique would go to the Special Olympics track, and she always ran track, but she always got second, even though she was the fastest kid. Why? Because she would stop, she would see her fans in the stands on that last leg of the race, and she'd stop and high five them until the other kid ran by, and then she'd get back on the track and she'd take second. And that's just the kind of spirit, right, these kids have. They don't worry about the things that we worry about with competitiveness and everything, and it's really a beautiful thing. But anyway, I grew up around organizations like Special Olympics, et cetera, and I just thought that was normal life. But when I was then fast forward to 2010 or so, I went to start a nonprofit with some friends of mine. And I said, you guys go build a website and raise some money. I'll take the applications with the IRS and all of that stuff. How hard can this be? Well, when I called the IRS and they told me it was 1 year to wait to get approved for tax exempt status, I thought about these people at Special Olympics. Did they have to go through this? And does everyone who wants to help somebody have to crawl across broken glass for a year and maybe spend thousands on an attorney and still have that result and have confusion, not be able to raise money, not be able to do what you are called to do? I thought that was outrageous. And so I took the little phone number that of the agent that the IRS gave me on the form, and I changed just the last 2 numbers. And so I called about 20 extensions north and south of that number. And if I got anyone on the phone, I begged, pleaded, and cajoled them for information. Why is this so hard? What would make the perfect file? And what would make them feel appreciated as a bureaucratic worker at the IRS? And I took all that information and I created what I call the love letter to a bureaucrat. And I tried to, I compiled my application and sent it in. And instead of a 1 year wait, I got approved in 45 days and I realized I was onto something.
That's awesome, right? So you had a purpose, right? And it's just amazing how this works, right? But now you're on a mission to help everybody create nonprofits. So I understand that the tax exemption is there. I understand that people want to help people. I'm in the coaching world. Everybody out there wants to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Why should one coach be a non-exempt NGO compared to a for-profit? I mean, what would help?
Well, let me give you an example. You're a woman and you are expanding from your background, your experience, your knowledge, and establishing, right, in a maybe a traditionally male dominated, whatever, right, coaching. You want to help girls who grew up in foster care, or maybe came from a different part of the world and they don't know how to access these things that are available to us here. So you could start a nonprofit called Munira's Musings Foundation, and you could have people donate. They would get that $10,000. If I give you $10,000, I don't get taxed on 100, I get taxed on 90,000 now, right? It reduces my tax burden. And sometimes it goes from one tax rate to another tax rate. So if you're at 170 and you go down to 168, and this is the current tax rates, your tax rate drops by, it's either 6 or 8%. It's pretty massive. So you'd save $10,000 by giving $3,000 to Munira's Musings Foundation. And then you could take that money and you could offer scholarships to train girls who are growing up, who are in high school. Maybe they don't want to go to college, maybe they do, whatever, but you could teach them how to become a coach and how to be effective, but they don't have the money to pay for such a coaching service. So you could coach them and help them be more effective in their lives and all of that kind of thing, because people want to give to your cause. And so that's why you might want to start a nonprofit right alongside of your for-profit business with coaching or with your podcast or whatever. So it's a wonderful way to give back, even inside the same stream that you're already doing. It's like if you have a construction company, you can start a nonprofit and then give your workers Friday afternoon off, and you get extra materials from the job, and you go help the widows and orphans who have leaky roof. So there's all manner of things that you could do with a nonprofit. And those are the kinds of things that we encourage. Now, not everybody should start a nonprofit, but the people who are called to do good in the world certainly can, and it should not be hard to do good.
Okay, so then you gave me a perfect example, so I can't say anything else, but I mean, that's a very good idea. But how much does it cost to become a nonprofit?
Well, it depends, right? There are a couple of different pathways to a 501c3 nonprofit. 501c3 and nonprofit are generally used as interchangeable terms. And we have very affordable packages from $1,000 to $10,000. If you just want to get the entity going, get the business going, get the paperwork done, that can be $1,000 or $2,000. If you want to build out your fundraising, get some grants written, every year, just to give you an example of how massive this industry is, 1 out of 9 jobs in America is in the nonprofit sector. About $4.3 trillion are under management of nonprofits, and just private individuals and corporations alone give over $250 billion a year. So there's a lot, right? It's an unseen part of the fabric of society in the US, where people just decide they want to make a change, and they do, whether it's big business or the person. I'll never forget, I had a guy who was he worked on a garbage truck in Washington, D.C., tired of watching the kids in his neighborhood get shot up or get, on drugs, pregnant, etc. So he was taking money. He was one of my first customers, taking money out of his pocket to start this nonprofit. So for him, He did the payment plan. He did the very smallest package that he could because he was already doing mentorship and he was unable to take money from people and give them that tax write-off that they expect. And so that's why somebody would not start a nonprofit. And at its the majority of very small nonprofits can start for as little as $1,000. You could raise that in a weekend with some of the tools and tips that we give you as part of your package.
Wow, nobody has ever talked to me like this before. So this is something new for me, but it's amazing that there's another sector out there. There's a lot of people who need help, a lot of them. And, it's funny that you say that because I am partnered with a lady who teaches business. And these are kids who were somehow put in this program. They know how to make TikTok videos. They know how to do all these things that the kids know how to do today that we are still learning with their cell phones, right? And it was amazing because we met 28 to 35 people who are home-based businesses. And these women are working from home and they are creating stuff or they are purchasing stuff from abroad and then selling it here. They don't know how to market. These kids here know how to do stuff, but they don't call it marketing. They just call it playing. So I told who was the teacher, I said, why don't we just do a conjunction where they need people to promote, we need people to promote us. Why can't we just have that work, right? And it's working because these kids have now got a purpose. They hated this class, but now as they meet real entrepreneurs, not millionaires, but people who are actually making a difference, small steps at a time, they now have somewhere to create advertisements or something video form where they are just amazing at it, right? I don't know how to do stuff like that. So
that is awesome. I love that.
Because now we are teaching people how to, these are high school students who have they don't see the future. I don't think they even have thought about going to college, but as I speak to them every Thursday, because she brings me on and I talk to them as a coach, I speak to them and I talk to them and I say, this could be a way you can make some money. And this is a way you don't have to go to college, although you need to learn how to do a business, but you can start putting your foot in the door and creating stuff like this for little entrepreneurs and then grow big from there. So now they see hope because now they are working with that. I mean, so that's a good way to put it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and they're connecting with other humans, which kids find very hard to do now. So this is beautiful. You're achieving multiple goals that in fact could be a nonprofit because it fits the community betterment, checks that box. It checks the education box. And so there's so many reasons that is a good thing. So I love to hear that example.
I mean, it came up as an idea, but it's like you meet two people and you figure out, hey, they can help you somehow, right? And there's always a connection. There's always some kind of connection. So give me 3 things that that every businesspreneur out there should think about when they're looking to do something like becoming a nonprofit. So what tips?
So absolutely. So you're probably familiar with the hero's journey, right? The model of the hero's journey. We are all on our own hero's journey. I love that framework because every human has written on our hearts, we want to be the human, the hero. This is why these movies like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Hunger Games, and even the novels we read, everything has an element of this hero's journey. And so these 3 things I'm going to talk about are on that wheel of that hero's journey. First of all, there's the practical. You need to give people the result they're looking for, right? When someone comes to me and they say, I think I want to start a nonprofit, but I don't know how. It's the how is okay, we'll help you, right? And it's kind of like, it fits into Simon Sinek's why, what, how, right? And so there's the how, and that's like if you give somebody's hungry, you give them a piece of bread. But then you can teach them, right? They move along the hero's journey and they discover that there's this greater need, and you teach them how to reproduce this result again. And so they discover this greater need and they go a little bit further down the rabbit hole. And so that's where you go into more tactical and strategic help, right? So they need a nonprofit. They need to get that status because they want to raise money. They can't afford to buy the dog food for the foster animals anymore. And then it's like, okay, well, here's how you can go beyond just having the nonprofit, and you can create a system, a business model, right, that can reproduce the needs that you have to make that thing work. So you go from the practical to this tactical to the strategic. But then I really love that there's the spiritual element to it. And so I help people see the larger story, right? And maybe they don't want to accept spiritual or think about it spiritually, but there's a thing that's very deep in your heart that causes you to start any business or any nonprofit. I don't care what it is. Somewhere back in your history, you made a choice and in your mind, or you made a realization that somebody needs to change something. And whether that's Steve Jobs with every house should have a computer, or Munira, talking to the kids, right? There's a thing that says, I didn't have this, or I wish I had this. I want to help with this. And that's where you can put yourself in the context of this greater journey that is different than the very practical on the ground help. And it's even different than the strategic help that we give people on how to make that work for them and make that sustainable. It's the spiritual thing, which is the true why, right? And so everybody wants to start with the how. And I always like to say, start with why, because that spiritual calling, or if you want to call it your deeper purpose, the driver, the motivator of why you do the things in the world that you do, is your North Star. And if you can just stay aligned to that, that makes that practical stuff, which can be very hard. You know what a grind it is. So this morning we had trouble with Zoom and technology. I had to reboot. You had to fix settings. When those things happen in life and life gets really hard, and you have that why that you're attached to, it makes crawling over broken glass a lot more joy.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's amazing. What is one question that nobody asks you that you wish that somebody would ask you?
A question that no one asks me that I wish they would ask. I would say that the thing that I wish people asked would be like for a diagram, right, of how to drive, how is this thing going to work as a machine, right? Whatever it is you want to do, it has to, you can have all kinds of energy and excitement and inspiration to start, but you have to have a model that keeps it going. So with a business or with a nonprofit, or even in your own personal household life, I know that I didn't have that when I was young. So I'm very emotional. I get very excited about things, and I just go running toward my goals. And then I would run out of steam, or I would run into problems because I didn't put a model together about how this is going to work in the long term. And now I do that from the beginning. How am I going to pay for this? Or how is this going to continue after I get tired, or I need to, create something to keep this, make this sustainable. And so it has helped me as I get older to narrow my focus and make sure that I get to the other side. Because if you build a bridge 90% of the way across the river, guess how many cars get across? 0. They all go in the water.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So the fact that you've talked about and given us 3 points. What book are you reading right now?
I'm reading a couple books. I'm reading Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind, which is he came from an atheist skeptic point of view toward psychedelic research. Mushrooms, MDMA, LSD, all of that stuff is being studied right now at Johns Hopkins. and they're curing PTSD and all kinds of things. And it's a very interesting book because it comes at spirituality and purpose and all that stuff from a very different angle. So that's a very interesting book. I'm also reading Neville Goddard. I've got a book of all of his works. And so he has one called The Feeling is the Secret. And what Neville Goddard teaches is that there's a side to whether you believe in the Bible or you believe that there's just a universal force or you believe in a certain God, definition of God, that no matter what it is, that you are created in a way that if you can capture the feeling of achieving the thing that you are looking for, then your spirit, your soul, your body, your life, your circumstances will align themselves to meet that beautiful future. And so I've been studying that, and he looks at it from a very interesting perspective using some ancient texts like the Bible, etc. And I really love that idea because I have teenagers. If you can't see your teenager in their beautiful, perfect future self, or at least, maybe imperfect, but beautiful, it's going to be hard to get through the day. So I close my eyes and I see my 3 kids and I on a boat out off San Diego, and the sea spray is coming up and they're all laughing and having a good time. And they're adults who have their lives in order now. And that is that North Star that helps me get through all of the teenage years with these kids.
Amazing. And teenage years can be hard.
Oh boy. I know I gave my mom a run for her money.
I haven't, but I didn't do that. But I have 4 kids, so yeah.
Oh yeah, yep. So you get it. You get it.
I get it. So thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate you being here. You opened my eyes on a different perspective today, because I think nonprofits can work for many businesses, and they can help other people who are in need of our services. We are in this world to help people.
Yeah, people who already have businesses can start a nonprofit and put a halo on their business and be a good steward of the community. When you've made money, look at Tony Robbins, look at anyone, Brendan Burchard, they all say, do well and do good. And how do people want to expand? What's another $1 million? Look at the Great Resignation. People are no longer satisfied. They're looking at their lives going, do my actions match my values? And if they don't, they're leaving the job or they're wanting to start something new. And so I think this pandemic has been very challenging, and I feel for people who've lost their jobs or businesses or whatever. But it's also causing a little bit of a rebirth in people to understand your life is evaporating every day. Are you spending it doing something meaningful? And if not, people are starting to look into what they could do to have a more meaningful life. So if anyone wants to learn anything about starting a nonprofit, how to name it, how to come up with the mission, anything, or just wants to have a strategy call, we have all kinds of free resources and a free boot camp. So if they go to instantnonprofit.com/Munira's Musings, just like this show, and I have another one, /Munira, because I don't have any other shows with anyone named Munira. So instantnonprofit.com/Munira, you can get a free boot camp, all kinds of free resources, have a strategy call, and explore what would it be like if you started a nonprofit. And I would love to give the free gift to your listeners because I have really enjoyed being on the show.
No, thank you. That was going to be my next question: is how do people find you? But you just read my mind and went forward.
See, I didn't come here to play host. You're the host, but.
Hey, you know what? This is perfect because we're on the same plane together. And
Absolutely.
it works, right? It works. So you just read the words right out of my mouth. But thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And anybody out there listening, if you are taking your business to the next level and you still want to help people, the way I see it is, if you want to help people and there are people out there who cannot afford it, this is one way you can make a good impact in their lives, because you never know whose life you're going to touch next and how much they need you. I've enjoyed this show with Christian Lefer. If you are interested, everybody out there who is interested in creating a nonprofit, please go to instant nonprofit /Munira, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the free gift there for you. I'm going to do that too. And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to be on our show, please send me a message, because there are people who want to know what you are up to, and we can showcase you on our show. Thank you. We'll be back next week on Munira's Musings, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.